Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome to another episode of Brewing It Live with me, Lotus, and
Han. Hi, how are you guys?
and today we're doing a special Brewing It Live because, well, to put it bluntly, we're showing off more than anything. We got our judge promos through the post.
Yeah, we did.
I only have one because the other's in a deck, but they're so pretty. So we decided to actually brew it because it's awesome. Have you read the card? It's
Evening, Ashen.
evening. It's a 4/4 Elder Dragon for 1 blue, black, red. It's a 4/4 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card, and for 4 blue, red, black, exile Nicol Bolas the Ravager, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate this ability only anytime you cast a sorcery. But the other side
is Nicol Bolas the Arisen. It's a legendary planeswalker, comes in with 7 loyalty counters. Its +2 is draw 2 cards. -3, Nicol Bolas the Arisen deals 10 damage to a target creature or planeswalker. For -4, put target creature or planeswalker from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And for -12, exile all but the bottom card of target player's library.
I hope that card's a good one. Evening,
Tends
Jojo.
to be.
So this is a very mean card.
Spicy.
Spicy. Definitely not stacksy or mean. Just spicy.
Ah.
So
Yeah, the last time I built a Nicol Bolas deck, it was a horrible Planeswalker deck. Like Super Friends level, except it was just not good. There was nothing to defend me. I just wanted to get every Planeswalker that's in Grixis out there and just do a bunch of shenanigans. It was great.
fair. I mean, I built this back when it came out in core set 20 or 19.
2021, I believe. 19, actually. Yeah, I'm 19.
Yeah, 19. Yep. And I built it like a Nekasar style deck. Because he ETBs, everyone discards cards, and he wants to exile your library, bring stuff back from the grave. It just felt really mean, but I liked it. Hi.
Yeah.
Hey, Heinz D, welcome. So, the one thing that we've not done is I'm going to put in some lands, because we always start with the 36 basics, and then we work from there because we're monsters, as Dan would say.
Yeah, I mean, sounds accurate.
Yeah. So, has anyone got any ideas how we should start building this legendary planeswalker creature?
Well, a couple of things. I think the only board wipe that can go in this deck is going to be a Damnation, right?
I mean, yes.
There's a certain art we need to throw in here. Not that that needs to be the one that we run, but
Let me find it.
You already know the one.
The Invocation Damnation.
Mm-hmm. It's only appropriate.
It is. So it's 2 black black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated.
Seems good.
Oh, you know what? When I have a bit of time, I'm going to have to change all of these lands to the Armenket lands. In fact,
Yeah.
you carry on. I'm doing it now.
Well, you have control over the architect. So yeah, Hour of Devastation would be the second. You fool, as Heinz D. Yeah, out of the gates with suggestions from Ashen. Gaia Drone seems good, and also other evil Grixis Walker.
Other evil Grixis Walker. Ooh.
There are only Nicol Bolases in this deck. What are you talking about?
There we go. We have the correct lands.
So, Geodrone Dihada. It's 1 in Grixis, so 1 blue, black, and red for a legendary planeswalker, Dihada, out of Modern Horizons 2. Comes in with 4 loyalty counters. Protection from permanents with corruption counters on them is just a static ability on Dihada. +1. Each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Put a corruption counter on up to one other target creature or planeswalker.
Okay.
-3. Gain control of target creature or planeswalker until end of turn. Untap it, and put a corruption counter on it. It gains haste until end of turn. -7. Gain control of each permanent with a corruption counter on it. Yay! Steal the things.
That's...
On flavor for Nicol Bolas.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
Oh.
Slave of Bolas. Gain
Yep.
3 hybrid blue-red, and a black sorcery. Gain control of target creature. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. And then sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. I mean...
Yeah, let's throw some Bolas cards in for sure. It's on flavor.
I mean, we can steal something. It's the whole Bolas way. I want that creature. I'm done with it.
You will be part of my machinations. Yes.
Yeah.
Heinz D says Hour of Devastation would be the second, you fool. So I'm assuming that's the Hour of Devastation card.
Yes.
Red. Fantastic sorcery that just 3 red for all creatures lose indestructible until end of turn. Hour of Devastation deals 5 damage to each creature and each non-Bolas planeswalker.
Yep.
Pretty fantastic.
And this deck is already starting to work.
Mm-hmm. We've already got it.
Jojo says the Dragon God.
Oh yeah.
Nicol
Out
Bolas.
of War of the Spark.
Oh, there's so many pretty artworks. I can't choose the really good Japanese one because I can't read it. But San Diego Comic Con or the... I'm gonna go for that one.
Well, you pick. I'll read it.
Sorry,
Blue, black, red.
I'm like a kid in a sweet shop. This game.
4 loyalty for a Bolas planeswalker. Nicol Bolas Dragon God has all loyalty abilities of all other planeswalkers on the battlefield.
Spicy.
+1. Draw a card. Each opponent exiles a card from their hand or a permanent they control. -3. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. -8. Each opponent who doesn't control a legendary creature or planeswalker loses the game. Win con.
Yep.
So the +1 in and of itself is already pretty devastating. You have to exile a card. It could be a hand or from a permanent that they control. So eventually, when you do this over and over again, you can just... Yeah. It might get to a point where you just exile people's lands. Can get pretty mean. But keep in mind, I mean, Dragon God could also just do any other planeswalker ability on the battlefield, not just ours.
Yeah, which is awesome. Heinz D says we can't get around Dark Imitations, can we? So Dark Imitations is...
Yeah, Dark Imitations is fantastic.
Yeah, 2 blue, black, red sorcery. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, then discards a card. You return a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand, then draw a card. When you cast a Bolas planeswalker spell, exile Dark Imitations from your graveyard. That planeswalker enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it. It's so good it helps us twice.
Indeed it does. Jojo... After Dragon God, we have Heinz D saying, Dark Intimation. Oh, I'm sorry. Jojo says, deliver unto evil. Yep.
Keep up.
That playmat is fantastic.
I never got one, and I was so sad.
So, deliver unto evil. 2 and a black for a sorcery. Choose up to 4 target cards in your graveyard. If you control a Bolas planeswalker, we might have to have that before we cast this. Return those cards to your hand. Otherwise, an opponent chooses 2 of them. Leave the chosen cards in your graveyard and put the rest into your hand. Exile, deliver unto evil.
Yeah.
Just give me cards. 4 of them. Yes, please.
Before we go on to Ashen's one, there's I used to play Nicol Bolas the Ravager in Brawl. Yes, I did play Brawl. So was it Brawl? What's the other one where a planeswalker, you have a legendary spell and a legendary commander? Oathbreaker.
Oathbreaker, yeah.
So I had this Nicol Bolas as my Oathbreaker, and this was my epic spell, the Elder spell.
Yeah, Elder spell's pretty good.
So it was black sorcery. Destroy any number of target planeswalkers. In Oathbreaker, they were all commanders. Choose a planeswalker you control. Put 2 loyalty counters on it for each planeswalker destroyed this way.
Yep. Seems pretty good.
It just got me straight up to the big numbers on the Bolas the Arisen quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Crux of Fate
Go ahead.
from Ashen.
Yep. And we're gonna do the Commander 17, I believe, art, since we don't condone plagiarism.
No, this one, the artist that originally did this, well done. But
Yeah. For sure.
Let's go with this one with Ugin, the Crux of Fate from Commander 17. 3 black sorcery. Choose one. Destroy all dragon creatures or destroy all non-dragon creatures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
Yep. Nicol Bolas is a dragon.
It kind of is
So-
one of the reasons we call it EDH.
Elder dragon.
Just slightly.
I don't. What did that H stand for? So yeah, Jojo says God Pharaoh. So this is the Hour of Devastation one, which I remember this so fondly. Yeah, it was known as the Big Baddie. 4 blue, black, and red for Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh. Comes in with 7 loyalty. +2 is target opponent exiles cards from the top of his or her library until they exile a non-land card. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So good.
It's disgusting.
+1, each opponent exiles 2 cards from his or her hand. That's each opponent. We love it.
And it's 2
and
cards.
-2. -4, Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh deals 7 damage to target opponent or creature an opponent controls. Generally speaking, we're never using that one.
No.
The -12, however, is exile each non-land permanent your opponent's control. Plural.
Just
Yes.
wipe the board clean.
Yep.
That's beautiful. And yeah, okay, it's 7 mana, but remember, our commander has a -4. Put target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard onto the battlefield.
Yep. So this just comes onto the battlefield online instantly. Yes, please.
Yep. Heinz D says Deep Glow Skate. Ooh.
Yes. Deep Glow Skate is amazing.
Deep Glow Skate is 4 and a blue for a 3/3 fish. When it enters the battlefield, double the number of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents.
So, meaning loyalty counters.
Oh, yes.
So, you know that God Pharaoh we just talked about? It comes in with 7. Yeah, that's now 14
And that's enough
if
to
you just
ult.
drop Deep Glow Skate.
That's enough to ult
It's
it
it's
and
enough
keep
to
it
ult
alive.
most. Yeah, it's enough to ult most things at that point. So yes, Deep Glow Skate is a wonderful, wonderful creature. And again, keep in mind, Nicol Bolas, there's a couple of them that bring creatures or planeswalkers back from the graveyard.
Yeah.
It can bring Deep Glow Skate back. So yeah, it's a powerhouse card in this deck for sure.
Yeah.
Going along with the same theme of Deep Glow Skate, there's a couple of phenomenal cards that I just want to kind of bring to the forefront. One of them is going to be a Flux Channeler. Flux Channeler is just phenomenal because for 2 and a blue, you get a human wizard 2/2 that just says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you're going to proliferate.
Yeah.
So cast your planeswalker, cast your sorcery, enchantment, what have you, and we're just gonna get +1/+1 counters or loyalty counters, most likely. Bloop bloop bloop.
So Ashen
and-
says, gotta have the 3 Bolas subjects. Augur of Bolas, Disciple of Bolas, and Mindclaw Shaman. So let's go with Augur of Bolas first.
Sure.
Augur of Bolas is a 1 and a blue for a Merfolk Wizard 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order.
Yep.
Seems good. Second one
So
was
Disciple.
the Disciple, yep.
Yep, Disciple of Bolas is 3 and a black for a 2/1 human wizard. When Disciple of Bolas enters the battlefield, sacrifice another creature. You gain X life and draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. So, one of the best ways to use this is steal effects. I know we just talked about Bolas's clutches, was it?
Slave of Bolas, but Bolas's clutches would be another one.
Yeah. So by stealing a creature from our opponent and then sacrificing it to gain life and draw us cards.
Should we just put in Bolas's clutches in as well?
I mean, we could.
Blue.
Me?
In Legendary Enchantment Aura, you control enchanted permanent.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a pretty great one. Enchanted permanent becomes legendary, but yeah, we can keep that one in. Permanent meaning we could just steal a commander too if it comes down to it,
or a land.
Yep.
And the last one is Mind Claw Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
4 and a red for a 2/2 Vishino Shaman. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You may cast an instant or sorcery card from that player's hand without paying its mana cost.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, I've not seen that one before. That's rough. I like it. Nicol Bolas
so
gives power to those who will abuse it most.
Yep. That is what Bolas does. So, yeah, as for Kamigawa's suggestions, I feel like Bolas is the sort of person to give very damning choices. So, choice of damnations, says Ashen.
Okay. Let's have a look.
Mm-hmm.
5 and a black sorcery arcana. Target opponent chooses a number. You may have that player lose that much life. If you don't, that player sacrifices all but that many permanents. Oh. Now that's a decision to make. Oh, you're going to have to choose at least 10, I would say.
Well, target opponent chooses a number, right? So they have a fantastic choice to make. They're going to either, okay, I'll lose 10 life, or I'm going to have to sacrifice everything but 10 permanents. Like, or if you choose 2, if I want to lose 2 life, or I'm going to have 2 permanents left.
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
Pretty damning. Yeah. Yeah, that does sound like something that Bolas would do.
Pretty much.
Jojo says, if we're going to have a bunch of planeswalkers, then Sarkhan the Masterless. Okay, I can see it.
Forgotten what this one does.
It's our planeswalker that turns everything into dragon. So 3 red for a Sarkhan planeswalker comes in with 5 loyalty. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature.
Yeah.
Okay. +1 until end of turn. Each planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon creature and gains flying. So all of our planeswalkers are 4/4 dragons in addition to everything else. Cool.
So Bolas's become
-3.
dragons.
Yep. -3 each. Create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying, and it's a static 5 to come in. So yeah. Definitely benefits from all of our proliferating effects like Flux Channeler and Deep Glow Skate giving double the amount of loyalty counters. Yeah, seems great.
So Heinz D suggests Yorg's Vile Offering.
Sure.
4 and a black for a legendary sorcery. Up to 1 target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker and exile Yorg's Vile Offering.
Seems spicy.
Yeah. I mean, if we're running a lot of legendary stuff like Nicol Bolas's and things, do we want not as, oh no, it's red-white, isn't it? Primordial Rebirth and Ursa's Ruinous Blast. That's a shame.
Yep. Now, if we do want to make things cheaper, however, a fantastic one, which is actually already suggested by Jojo here, is Nightscape Familiar.
Ooh.
Nightscape Familiar is 1 and a black for a 1/1 zombie. Blue and red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. For 1 and a black, you can regenerate Nightscape Familiar as well, which means the next time this creature will be destroyed this turn, it isn't. Instead, tap it, remove all damage from it, and remove it from combat.
Nice.
So, yeah, Nightscape Familiar is pretty great. You get to make red and blue spells cheaper, and regenerate it for 1 and a black. Keep it around.
Yeah. And Heinz D is following it up with an Oath of Liliana. 2 and a black for a legendary enchantment. When the Oath of Liliana enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Keeping on theme. At the beginning of each end step, if a planeswalker entered the battlefield under your control this turn, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield.
I'll keep watch. Happy now?
So,
yeah.
when I built this deck as a commander deck, the biggest thing that caught my eye was its ETB ability, that when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. So I was going down the whole route of Waste Not and things like that made effects happen. But that leads me to a card that is a similar effect that I think is really Bolas-esque and really mean.
Sure.
And it's Painful Quandary.
Oh, I love that card.
It's a 3
it is a mean card.
black enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless they discard a card. It's not Bolas themed as in the card, but it definitely fits in with the commander's ETB.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the really great things about Painful Quandary is that it's on cast. So it's not even like it has the ETB or anything like that. It's just, hey, anybody that wants to cast, lose 5 life or discard a card. Yes. And this is asymmetrical.
Someone wants to Cyclonic Rift and someone else counters it. Can you both lose 5 life?
Yep. Or discard cards for each time you do stuff. Yep. Now, a card that goes hand in hand with the discard off of our ETB on Nicol Bolas and things like Painful Quandary making people discard cards. Something that people should be familiar with now with Modern Horizons 2 having come out. Dauthi Voidwalker is something that needs to be on everybody's radar. It is gross and disgusting, and I'm all for it. But that's just me. Okay. So for a single, for 2 black, you get a creature Dauthi Rogue. It's a 3/2 with Shadow, meaning that this creature can only block and be blocked by creatures with Shadow. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, instead exile it with a Void counter on it. Tap and sacrifice Dauthi Voidwalker. Choose an exiled card an opponent owns with a Void counter on it. You may play it this turn without paying its mana cost. So, if we made our opponents discard a card, or Painful Quandary made them lose 5 life or discard a card, those would all normally end up in the graveyard. But with the Voidwalker out, it gets exiled instead with a Void counter. And we can just tap and sacrifice the Voidwalker to cast, play that card without paying any mana.
It's disgusting.
It's something that needs to be on everybody's radar for a Nicol Bolas deck because it is disgusting indeed.
Yeah, that's disgusting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Though Ashen has suggested Tergrid, and how filthy are we gonna go with this?
I mean,
I know I've skipped over a few suggestions, so don't worry, I'll get back to them.
Yeah, we'll head back to them, but yes,
Tergrid, 3 black for a 4/5 with Menace. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That's disgusting. And the other side is a legendary artifact for 3 and a black. Tap. Target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card, and pay 3 and a black to untap it.
Right. So I mean, we're playing it for Tergrid side all day long, but if you absolutely need a Torment of Hailfire on a stick, we have it.
Now that's a suggestion.
It is also Bolas themed.
Yeah. Go on, read that one out.
Sure. Torment of Hailfire, X black for a sorcery. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life, unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. Now again, if we're going back to the Voidwalker, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Any of those things that people discard and goes into the graveyard from anywhere, including these permanents that have to get sacrificed, we can cast any of those for free by sacrificing Dauthi Voidwalker.
This is disgusting.
It's Yeah, the Voidwalker is insane. It's just insane. It's an insane card.
Last week I said, wouldn't it be fun if we did a Bolas deck, Han? We got our promos. Wouldn't it be fun? We can make it nice and flavorful. Look at what you are doing.
But people should be aware that the Voidwalker is stupid good.
Kind of secretly proud of you as well, which is sad.
I'm okay with it. But yes, so going back to some of the suggestions we had. So Jojo suggested a counter squall, which is a phenomenal counter spell, if I recall correctly.
Counter squall. Blue and a black instant. Counter target non-creature spell. Its controller loses 2 life. And we have to have this one because it has Nicol Bolas flavor text. The essence of every world, every spell, and every thought is power. Nothing else matters because nothing else exists.
Now, what I will say, though, however, is based on how the deck is forming, I might want to maybe board the counter squall, but only because of the flavor, I might keep it in. However, Drowning the Lock is just phenomenal. Blue and a black for an instant. Instant, you just choose one. Counter target spell with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. With all the discarding that people might be doing, this could be phenomenal. Now, the other part of the instant is destroy target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard.
We're doing a lot of exile.
A little bit more flexible. I mean, that's the only exiling is happening if the Voidwalker's out.
Fair. Ashen says Phyrexian Tyranny may be too risky. I'm not familiar with this one.
Tyranny.
Oh, from Planar Portal. Blue, black, red for an enchantment. Whenever a player draws a card, that player loses 2 life unless they pay 2.
Huh.
I mean, it affects us. Is that Thanos?
Kovacs to Urtai. He is Yawgmoth's reward to me. I shall kill him 100 times a day.
Oh, is that Squee? Yeah.
Might be, actually. Yep.
I like that card, actually.
Yeah, let's go ahead and add it in.
Jojo suggests Kasmina Egmatic Mentor.
Okay. I recently sent you one of these.
You did, and it's in my Singleton collection.
Yeah.
You want to read it?
3 and a blue for a Kasmina Planeswalker. Comes in with 5 loyalty. Spells your opponents cast that target a creature or Planeswalker you control. Costs 2 more to cast. Yep. Protection for all of our things. And -2, create a 2/2 blue wizard creature token. Draw a card, discard a card.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if we're proliferating with the Flux Channeler, we can just keep topping this up.
Yeah. Now we also have Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage as a suggestion from Jojo. Davriel is the one that makes you discard, I believe.
Yes. 2 and a black for a legendary Planeswalker, Davriel. 3 loyalty. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage deals 2 damage to them. And -1, target player discards a card. Ooh, are we going to go down the rack route now?
I mean, we certainly could. I know that when I had my Nicol Bolas, I definitely went Ashiok, Dream Render, but that's just me.
I mean, the rack at the beginning of target opponent, I think that's been errated to each opponent now.
I'll double check it right now.
Yeah, I think it's each opponent.
So, as the rack enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. At the beginning of the chosen player's upkeep, the rack deals X damage to that player, where X is 3 minus the number of cards in their hand.
Okay. I mean, might not be that great in Commander then.
Yep.
Maybe not. I'm going to put it straight to maybe board, but yeah, if it was each opponent, it'd be definitely a lot better than it would have been. But Ashiok.
So, Dream Render. Yep. So 1 hybrid blue-black for 5 loyalty Planeswalker Ashiok. Spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause their controller to search their library, so no searching. Ooh. This shuts down fetch lands as well. And for -1, target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, then exile each opponent's graveyard. So if we have the Voidwalker out, We're putting 4 cards into a graveyard.
Ew. Calm.
Yeah. I just found out about this Voidwalker today, and I was just like, oh, that is gross in what we're doing today. So, yeah.
You've gone all in on that.
No, it's so phenomenal. It's ridiculous. And yeah, Ashiok just does work anyways.
Yeah,
And if we're doing some Planeswalker shenanigans, yep, it'll do some stuff.
I'm gonna suggest some like the waste knot that we that I spoke about earlier, just because it's now going down that route. So
Yeah.
1 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, make a 2/2 zombie. Whenever an opponent discards a land, add 2 mana of black. And whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land, draw a card. We're gonna make people do a lot of discarding. That could just keep us going.
Now, what are your thoughts on a patient rebuilding?
Ooh,
Because that is on flavor for Nicol Bolas.
it is.
So 3 blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Then you draw a card for each land card put into that graveyard this way.
Yeah,
So it's card draw.
I like that a lot, actually. Slowly milling them.
Mm-hmm. Well, as slow as you really want to, I suppose.
Yeah, grind it out slowly.
Because the other one that I still, to this day, I throw it into every time I run a Nicol Bolas deck or try to make one. Yeah, Paradox Haze is one that I just always throw into this deck for me personally. 2 and a blue for an enchantment aura. You enchant a player. At the beginning of enchanted player's first upkeep each turn, that player gets an additional upkeep step after the step.
I really need to build a deck where that's the focal point. Oh, they need to make a commander where that's its ability.
That would be fantastic.
That would be really interesting to build.
I would love that.
Okay. Wizard, we want that. Jojo says, and then Saheeli Sublime Artificer for fodder to the Elder Spell for Sarkhan.
Yep.
What's that one do? 1 hybrid. Is it? Saheeli 5 mana. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. -2. Target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control until end of turn, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like. Oh, I'm fraying up in. You say that one, Han.
Fraying Omnipotence.
Yeah, there
so
we
Fraying
go.
Omnipotence is fantastic because it's on flavor. 3 black for a sorcery. Fraying Omnipotence reads each player loses half their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half the creatures they control. Round up each time.
Yeah, that with Tergrid.
Oh, you were thinking Tergrid. I had a different card in mind to go in hand with Fraying Omnipotence.
Oh?
It actually synergizes quite well with a couple of cards like Painful Quandary too. Wound Reflection.
Yeah.
So the way it works is Wound Reflection, 5 and a black. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn.
Yeah.
So, given Fraying Omnipotence, each player loses half their life, rounded up each time. At the end step, with Wound Reflection out, Fraying Omnipotence is how Nicol Bolas killed the table.
Yep. That's disgusting, and I like it. That's 2 win cons we have now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You know what would be really, really good with Painful Quandary, now that I think about it as well?
Okay.
There's a spicy card out of Strixhaven that I just thought of that would go really well with that. Wandering Archaic. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, they may pay 2. If they don't, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It's a 4/4 for 5.
Oh, so not only are they going to pay life or discard cards, they're going to have to pay extra mana or we'll get copies.
Yeah, they're trying to cast something, we're just going to copy it.
Yes, Jojo. Bolas's Citadel.
Oh, yes. Oh, get that. There's a second art, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Is that the Love Your LGS one?
Draft
No.
Weekend. Three
Yep.
black, black, black for a legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library any time. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. Sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life.
Yeah, we just like paying our life for the top part.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with Cruel Ultimatum is what Ashton suggested. Again, on flavor.
Cruel Ultimatum.
So this is one of the non-Ikoria ultimatum cycles. Blue, blue, black, 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 red, red. For a sorcery, target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3 cards, then loses 5 life. You return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards, then gain 5 life.
Yes, there's always a greater power. Also,
The other two. Yep. Planeswalker and Deceiver. I guess we're just throwing all the Nicol Bolas in here.
Right, let's do the Planeswalker first. So
Sure.
4 blue, black, black, red for a 5 loyalty. Nicol Bolas, a Planeswalker. +3, destroy target non-creature permanent. That's disgusting. -2, gain control of target creature permanently. -9, Nicol Bolas Planeswalker deals 7 damage to target player or Planeswalker. That player or that Planeswalker's controller discards 7 cards, then sacrifices 7 permanents. I forgot how vicious this one was.
Yeah. That one's pretty gross.
And then
Mythic Edition.
The Deceiver.
So the Deceiver is 5 in Grixis for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. +3, each opponent loses 3 life, unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. -3, destroy target creature and draw a card. -11, Nicol Bolas the Deceiver deals 7 damage to each opponent. You draw 7 cards.
This is so...
If we're running the Deceiver, I think the hand-in-hand card to go with it is Visage of Bolas. It's an artifact for 4. When Visage of Bolas enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Nicol Bolas the Deceiver. Reveal it, put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it, and it taps to add any one of Grixis to your mana pool.
Good for both things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Jojo says, oh, then the OG Nicol Bolas.
Why not? Where is he? Just Nicol Bolas.
Nicol Bolas. Mm-hmm.
Oh, now which art do I use? I kind of like the new, the M25 one. 2
Sure.
blue, blue, black, black, red, red. Flying 7/7 Elder Dragon. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice unless you pay blue, black, red. Or whenever it deals damage to an opponent, that player discards his or her hand.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I like it. I like it a lot.
Ashen says, bit of a non-bow with Voidwalker, but it's not a card you see much. What do you think of Prince of Thralls?
That the one that just discards your hand? 4 blue, black, black, red, demon, 7/7. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard, put that card into play under your control unless it's unless that opponent pays 3 life.
Huh.
I mean, we don't have to play both at the same time, but having 2 cards that do similar effects are really cool.
Yeah. Jojo says, what about a wheel? What kind are you thinking about, Jojo? I mean, Windfall?
I mean,
the go-to one?
Wheel of Fate's a bit expensive.
Fortune.
That's
Fate's
the one.
not.
No, Fate's the suspend one, isn't it?
It is. Yep.
I mean,
Yeah. We could throw in something like a Windfall. I don't think that's too bad in and of itself.
No. If we're gonna go down the Windfall route, we need
your choice with Narset.
your choice. What's the Raider's Wake?
Raider's Wake.
Yeah, 3 and a black for a enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life.
And it has Raid.
At the beginning of your end step, if you attack with a creature this turn, target opponent discards a card.
Interesting.
Now, hear me out. I think there's about 3 different cards that do something similar to Raider's Wake. Imagine having all 3 of them out. So if they discard a card, they lose 6 life. And then imagine having Painful Quandary on the battlefield. Would you like to discard a card and lose 6, or just pay 5 life?
Yeah. Moon Reflection to boot. Yeah, could be fun.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. Ashen Reforge the Soul. 3 red. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 with a miracle cost. Yep.
Yep.
A good wheel. Megrim, that's the other one. Megrim is 2 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a card, Megrim deals 2 damage to that player.
Okay. I see where this is going.
And Liliana's Caress. Fell Spectre I wasn't a fan of personally, but
Liliana's Caress is nice and cheap too, so it's 1 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life.
yep.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Now, would you like to lose 6 or pay 5 life? And if you discard anything, I'm going to make stuff off of Waste Not, and I'm going to get your stuff anyway.
Yeah. So I feel like we just need to throw in something like a Psychic Corrosion at this point, right? We have Patient Rebuilding to kind of go hand in hand with it as well, but 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. This helps us. I mean, Voidwalker, sure, but I mean, even just any of our reanimate abilities from Nicol Bolas will do it.
Yeah.
So just get some value out of opponents' graveyards. Yes, please.
Jojo says Demonic Tutor or any tutor. Is there a tutor with
I mean,
Bolas on it?
Yes, Mystical Archive.
Yes, there is.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good enough excuse for me to put it into the deck.
Seems reasonable. I don't own one. I own the
I own one. I bought one specifically because I wanted to make this deck down the line.
I have the Judge promo. I'm happy with that one. It's creepy.
So we have a decent amount of planeswalkers, would you say?
We have 10.
So I feel like a Rings of Brighthearth, now that it's nice and cheap, is just a good idea.
I remember when this was like $50, and now it's now it's 3. Wow.
Yeah, it's a tenth of that price. Yep.
This is what makes me happy about reprints. Cards that are unattainable become obtainable.
Exactly. So Rings of Brighthearth is 3 for an artifact. Whenever you activate an ability, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 2. If you do, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy.
Oh.
So Planeswalkers.
Trying to think of the card.
Use your words.
I'm trying.
What are you thinking of?
Pyromancer's Goggles I'm thinking of.
Could be.
No, it's not Pyromancer's Goggles. It's alright.
What's the effect?
I'm trying to remember. It's basically if you activate a red Planeswalker ability, it triggers a second time, but it might be just for Chandra's.
It might just be Chandra's.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar.
Chandra's Regulator, I think it is. Whenever you activate a noise ability of a Chandra. Yeah, no. Okay. I thought it was just a red Planeswalker, and I was getting excited because most of our Planeswalkers have red in them. Oh well.
Sure. Did you add the suggested Narset, by the way?
Oh no. Parter of Veils.
Yeah. I mean, it was your choice with Narset, but yeah, I mean, we're going in on some of these planeswalkers there, anyways.
Yeah, 1 blue, 5 loyalty. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. -2. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yeah, that static ability is just the most ridiculous thing ever. So there is a card that came out, I believe it was with the Commander Legend product. It was in one of the precons. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it fits really perfectly into this deck. Cunning Rhetoric. Cunning Rhetoric is 2 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent attacks you and or one or more planeswalkers you control, exile the top card of that player's library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it.
Is it?
Strixhaven and precons.
Yeah. I thought that was Heretic, but I'm dyslexic, so I can't read. I really hope to see your deck list on the Ravager, Jojo. I would love to see that.
Yeah. throw it into, YouTube or on Discord. I
Yeah.
would love to see it.
How flavorful do you want to be with this deck?
I mean, we're already halfway flavorful, I want to say, just looking at what we've got.
Okay.
At least 60-70% of it's pretty on flavor.
I have 2 suggestions.
Sure.
And it's going a little bit deeper into the lore.
Sure.
So the first one that I was thinking is the Scarab God, one of Nicol Bolas's lieutenants.
Oh, I love this card. I'm all for it already.
3 blue black for a 5/5 legendary creature god. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life. You scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. 2 blue black. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. When the Scarab God dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So that was the first one. The second one...
Well, before you go to the second one, we also have a Paradox Haze. Keep that in mind. So Scarab God, yeah, nice synergy.
Yeah. So the next one is the Locust God, another one of the lieutenants. 4 blue red for a flying 4/4 legendary creature god. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste. 2 blue red, draw a card, discard a card. When it dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step.
Yep.
Now, can you imagine that you discard one of these massive planeswalkers to one of those abilities, and then you just use the reverse side of our commander to just put it back on the battlefield?
Yeah, I can see it. Seems good.
Yeah.
So we're getting up there in cards, I believe, now.
We're at 94.
So I want to say 2 that are on flavor right now. Dreadhorde Invasion seems like a good one. Since you brought up Scarab God, it cares about zombies a little bit too.
Yeah.
But Dreadhorde Invasion is 1 and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. Whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until end of turn. Amass is just put a +1/+1 counter on a 0/0 army zombie creature. So yeah, lifelink on some zombies if we make them big, which we're not planning on making them big, but
No.
we need some blockers for our planeswalkers, plural.
Yep.
And you know what these zombies have, Lotus?
What's that?
Lazotep plating.
Ooh. Are we putting Lazotep in?
Yeah. Again, on flavor for the spark. 1 and a blue, instant, it amasses 1, and you and permanents you control have hexproof until end of turn.
Yeah, I like that. Going well. We're at 96. We're getting up there.
Yeah. So what do we feel like we need right now? Some ramp? What do we need?
I think we need ramp ramp I think is the biggest thing we need at the minute. We've got Visage of Bolas, and that's pretty much it. Oh,
yeah,
no.
And our mana curve's up at 4.24, so...
Angrath, Captain of Chaos. Yes. Just the name of this card makes me happy. 2 hybrid Rakdos, Angrath. Creatures you control have menace. -2, amass 2. Yes.
Sure.
I like that.
See, I was thinking you were going with the Flame Chained as far as the Angrath because of all the discarding we're making people do.
The Flame Chained? I can't remember that one.
Yeah. Rivals of Ixalan. I thought this one was the Angrath that was getting suggested here. It's the one that +1, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life.
Oh, okay. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it. Gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step if it has converted mana cost 3 or less. -8.
And then -8 loses life equal to the number of cards in his or her graveyard.
Oh, that's going in. That counts as a JoJo one though. That's not a Han.
That's a JoJo one for sure. So yeah, I'm quite happy with where this is going so far. What are your thoughts on something like a Stunning Reversal here? Seems good.
Stunning Reversal.
We're in black.
Next time you would lose the game. Instead, draw 7 cards and your life title becomes 1. I love this card.
So fun thing to think about. If we have Psychic Corrosion out, you want to hover over Psychic Corrosion in our enchantment real quick?
Psychic corrosion.
Yep.
Oh,
So Stunning Reversal reads, instead of losing the game, you're going to draw 7 cards and your life total becomes 1. Psychic Corrosion.
whenever you draw
So
a card, each
we're
opponent puts the top 2 cards, so they're gonna.
middle 14. Just incidentally.
Ew.
And we have cards that say whenever a card goes to the graveyard, right? Seems
Going...
good.
Yeah, sorry, I was reading Ashen's one. Going really deep into the lore here, but Bolas fought and defeated the Moijin of Night's Reach. Her fate is somewhat unknown, but it means Bolas has been to Kamigawa. Isn't his
We'll count it.
isn't
count it.
Bolas's dream world linked to Kamigawa? Because
Could
that's
be.
how he died. One of the times was because he was tricked by one of the Kamigawan lords. I might be off, and it might have been somewhere else, but I can't wait for his return again.
For sure. Yeah. Are there any other cards that you specifically want? Because I mean, we could always throw in things like.
There's one tiny one that I want to put in.
Sure.
Just a tiny one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a tiny one.
Might as well.
Tiny Bones, Trinket Thief.
Sure.
1 and a black for a 2/1 skeleton rogue. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and lose a life. Pay 4 black. Each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life.
Sure.
Ah, that occurred on Dominaria. Okay.
What? Okay. So there's a couple of cards that I kind of want to add in, but not sure if it fits. Inexorable Tide is a fantastic one. 3 blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell, proliferate.
Yeah. I mean, we don't run 36 lands. That's silly. Let's go to 35.
Sure. I'm all for it.
After the Kamigawa story, Toshiro Umezawa was transported to Dominaria and blinded. His descendant, Tetsu Umezawa, was the one to defeat Bolas. Ah.
And you know what's a really phenomenal card in case of a board wipe?
We can't.
I happen to really like it.
We can't run to Fairy's Protection.
No, but we can run Rise of the Dreadbarn.
Ew.
We need some zombies anyways.
Create X 2/2 black zombie berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that died this turn. Patel for a black. And it's only 2 and a black to cast. Instant. Okay.
Yep.
We're going to go down to 34 lands. We're not cutting any more lands. We're now at exactly 100. So it's now switch and swap time.
Sounds good. All right. So, utility lands? Do we need to talk about some lands?
I think Castle Lochthwain is good.
Yeah, I can see that.
Castle Lochthwain, 1 black, draw a card, lose a life for the number of cards in your hand. Just incidental drawing cards.
Yep.
Ooh.
Karn's Bastion.
Yeah. What's that land that you draw a card, everyone draws and discards?
Gaia Reach Sanitarium, that one? Is that the one you're thinking of? 2 on top?
Let's have a look. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. Yes, that's the one, because we want them to discard a card. It doesn't matter that they draw one.
The other fantastic one
happened after his body was restored after Tetsu defeated him. I'm getting some deep lore from Ashen here. It's one of my favorite planeswalkers, one of my favorite characters in the Magic lore, and I don't know nearly as much as Ashen does.
Interplanar Beacon, because we have a decent amount of planeswalkers.
Yeah. So
whenever you cast a planeswalker spell,
gain a life.
Gain 1 life. Mm-hmm. That's all we need. It does help you with add 2 for 1 as far as color fixing for planeswalkers, though.
Ashen just put into Planar Beacon as well. Sorry, beat you to it.
And we need more zombies, right?
Field of the Dead.
Yep. More zombies.
This card's just going up and up and up.
I mean, it's too good. It's just not going to go down. I can't see it going down. But yeah, I think those are some of the top hits, I think, as far as lands. I can't think of anything specifically else. But
Oh, I think that's pretty good. I mean, obviously you have your
yeah.
jewels that you can go in, your shocks, your fetch, everything like that.
Ooh,
I
we forgot. I forgot an Eldest Reborn needs to go into this. What can we cut?
the the
We probably
eldest.
need more ramp.
Well, do we? We're gonna make everyone slow down with us making them discard all the time. The eldest reborn. I think we should. Ooh, what do we cut? Now it's getting tricky. This is your fault, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say in Bolus's Clutches just because it's an expensive card.
Sure.
6 mana seems expensive.
Sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Other than probably cutting quite a few cards for some mana rocks, arcane signets, and things like that, yeah, the Prince of Thralls. I think if we cut the Prince of Thralls and put in an arcane signet, then
Yeah. That'll be fine.
at least we have a little bit of ramp. But I think it's down to individual play style, how much you want to run. But yeah, this is looking really mean. I wouldn't want to face it. I'd like to play it.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, are you happy with it, huh?
Yeah, I'm good. I think it's right there where I want it. The only thing I can think of, So my only thought here is, so does Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, does that do enough? Because we have to have a legendary creature or planeswalker out,
So our commander.
right? But it's just a destroy for 5, right?
What are you thinking?
Something a little bit more flavorful.
Okay.
Command the Dreadhorde.
4 black, black. Choose any number of target creatures and planeswalker cards in graveyards. Command the Dreadhorde, deal damage to you equal to the converted mana cost of those cards. Put them into the battlefield under your control. Yeah, that's quite flavorful. There we go. I switched them over, huh?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy with this.
I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah.
Ooh, nope, we forgot one thing.
We've always forgotten something, huh?
True.
What have you forgotten?
I would love to include a training grounds in this because of our commander, because of things like, what do you call it? We have Scarab God in here. We have Locust God in here. Even our Nightscape Familiar's ability gets cheaper.
Okay. So what do you want to cut for that one then, hon?
Let's say, I think the Davriel.
You sure? Davriel's got one of the discard effects built onto it.
I mean, it's up to you.
We'll say.
What do you think? I think either that or the Mind Claw is the one that I can't quite wrap my head around, but that's just me.
The Mind Claw.
Shaman. Yeah, it's 5. Costs 5, and then reveals hand, cast an instant or sorcery spell without paying mana cost, if they have one.
Yeah, we're going to make them have hardly any hand, aren't we?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Phyrexian Tyranny being cut is what Ashen's saying.
Phyrexian Tyranny. Whenever a player draws a card, that player loses 2 life unless they pay 2. You know what? I'm going to
I quite like that.
Yeah. They pay life for casting spells, discarding cards, drawing cards. They're just going to pay life for everything they do.
Yeah.
That's 100 cards. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. I'm happy with a solid 100.
Yeah, awesome. As always, this will be on the website in about half an hour, so you can see the link to this and you can copy it and edit it. And we'd love to see how you've modified it to your tastes, and I'd love to see your version, Jojo, as well, to see how mean you've gone. We won't be here next week because someone, not explaining who, is not going to be here. So we can't do next week, sadly, but we'll be back the week after with hopefully one of the new cards from the spoilers of the D&D set.
Yeah. There's a lot of them too.
There is.
So if anybody has any suggestions for what they want to see on that upcoming week, please let us know, because yeah, we got some time.
Yeah,
what are you most excited about?
I'm not going to update the website for about a week because I want to see what suggestions come through. So it'll just say coming soon. I think that's fair. But otherwise, if you liked what you saw, we're normally every week, but next week we can't. YouTube will still be going ahead. We've still got an episode or two in the bank, so every Monday there'll be a new episode still. I can't remember what next week is, so keep tuned. I just edit it, I don't sit there watching it for hours on end. But if you want to support us, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Also, we have our Patreon, so you can support us more financially. You have our merch store. Also, go to intothe99.com, where you can see great articles from other community members and the link to our Discord, so you can come and chat with us and brew with us in Discord as well. But otherwise, I'd like to thank everyone for coming and anyone watching. But otherwise, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night.
Have a good one. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Lotus and Han.